just start checking.
Boom! Dang it.
Come on now. Connor, come on.
We need like some...
Toss it
There we go.
down.
I got.
Oh, whoa. Welcome into the Bogey Bro Banter.
I can't even. After that sentence you just said, like I feel sick.
Well, don't
What
worry
is that
about
about?
it. Don't think about it, dude.
I gave Trevor and Hunter a fun fact before this that's slightly unsettling.
We can't
No,
talk
we can't
about
talk
it.
about it.
There's no chance.
All I did was say it was unsettling.
It is very unsettling.
I feel unsettled.
Well, okay, let me settle you down with
Settle him.
a nice ad read from our friends over at DiscDot. Sponsor today's episode. DiscDot is a simple and effective training tool for your disc golf putting practice routine. The DiscDot simply clicks onto a single chain link in your practice basket, providing a highly visible focal point to give you instant feedback and results. Brightly colored for less eye strain, the DiscDot will help you build muscle memory and confidence, which leads to more putts made on the course. We need that, am I right?
Yep.
Yes.
You're right.
DiscDot is a training tool of choice for top professional athletes such as Kristen Tatar, Gannon Bird, Johnny McRae, and more. Disc golf education and training programs worldwide such as UPlay and DG Academy use DiscDot to help teach the importance of the focal point while putting. If it works for them, it could work for you too, but don't take our word for it. Visit disc.usa.com right now and use the code FOUNDATION to save 20% and find out for yourself. Huge shout out to DiscDot, and thank you for supporting the banter. I've used the DiscDot here and there, but Trevor and I, if you haven't seen on Patreon, are now focused on getting better at disc golf, and the DiscDot's going to be an integral part of my putting practice routine because it's going to give me that feedback of not only am I making the putt, but I'm hitting the basket where I want to. We're also probably going to have a video come out soon where you miss the DiscDot, you get shocked or something crazy. I don't know.
Or hit the wrong disc dot.
Or hit the wrong disc dot. Or hit the right disc dot. There's a lot of different ways this could go. So
yeah.
you're not going to miss that out, but be sure to head over to disc.usa.com and use the code FOUNDATION. And yeah, you can improve your practice right alongside us. Konner, I got to tell you a story, man.
Oh, you're telling me a story?
I'm telling you a story. I texted Trevor out of shock value yesterday when this happened to me.
Okay.
But I wanted to save you for the banter.
Yeah, saving best for last. I understand.
Well, I wanted the camera on you. Well, you don't need it on right now. So I said I went to yesterday when I left work early. I said I was going home to meet a landscaper, right?
Yep.
So you've been to my house.
It wasn't
Yeah,
a landscaper.
I've been there.
It wasn't a landscaper. No, it was a landscaper. So I show up.
He's actually a
Turns out this guy was there
murderer.
to kill me. It might as well have been. So I show up. Super nice guy, first off. Very professional. Highly recommend him.
What was his name?
Scott. He just was an employee at a landscaping place. I'm not going to say the landscaping place's name because the rest of this story doesn't go so well for them.
All right. I love slandering landscapists.
So show up, and so the front, we have like these two rhododendrons that have kind of overtaken the house
Yeah,
on
they're
the side.
beautiful.
That's
They
a
are
fun
beautiful.
word.
Then we have this front flower bed, and then it kind of wraps around the side. So we first show him that, and I'm like, yeah, this is kind of what we're thinking. I was like, I don't know if these rhododendrons can be trimmed back. And he's like, no, the way they're overtaking the house, like, you're going to be a lot happier if we could get something that's never going to get that big. And then we can, like, plant around it, blah, blah, blah. So he's saying all the right words. Liz and I are like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. This is great.
He said rhododendron. Like, I'm in.
Yeah, I'm in. I didn't even know that.
Did you know that's what they were
No.
before he said that?
Trevor and them called them azalea bushes.
Yeah, that was me. I called him that, but they're way too big to be azaleas.
Yeah, they're rhododendrons. So anyways,
We're stupid.
he's talking him through
Yes.
like, we can do this, like plants, blah, 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 landscape. Then I was like, all right, well, let's walk around the back and show you the back. What we want to do is basically, right now we have this concrete slab that's like maybe at max 10 foot by 10 foot right outside my back door. That's kind of
Okay.
like in that little, like, it's a little cutout. Like the basement steps are here, living room's here, guest bedroom's here. In between those three walls is a concrete slab that makes the house like flat across.
Like a little patio.
Yeah, so it's just this tiny little patio right now that's not very usable. We have a fire pit in the middle. We can have like 2 or 3 chairs around it, but we can't entertain out there.
Gotcha.
So what Liz and I wanted to do was get a quote on putting pavers on that and then extending like a semicircle out over towards like to like go onto like this part of my house, right? So kind of like as a semicircle here, and then to make it balance, like a small semicircle on this side.
Gotcha.
Basically pavers, semicircle, semicircle.
Okay.
We don't know what this is going to cost at all. We had determined that between the landscaping and that, we like, if they said it was, we assumed it was going to be more than this, but we wanted to just get a quote in case.
Yeah.
We were like, if it's $6,000 or less, we'll do it. If it's more than $6,000, we're going to have to like think and
about it.
talk
Yeah,
about
yeah.
it. Like, be like, is this something we like? How much value is going to add to our house? Is this something we want to save up for? If it got over $10,000, it was an instant no.
Okay.
So we were thinking it's probably going to get close to 10,000, probably going to be an instant no. So we asked him to separate the front landscape
Oh, this is interesting. I didn't hear
and
this part.
the back patio.
Yeah.
Because we were like, we want the front landscape done no matter what. That
Yeah.
shouldn't be very expensive. 'Cause
Surely not.
All we need is just some
sounds like
plants.
you
All we
could
need
do
is
it.
some plants brought in and a tree cut out.
Yeah.
Not even a tree, a bush. We need
Yeah.
a bush taken out and some plants brought in and then mulch. So we're thinking that's going to be, we can get this guy to do that and then we'll just hear what he says for the back.
Yeah.
So he doesn't tell us any prices yet. He's just kind of walking around and then he's like getting his measurements. And I did notice when he measured, I was like, this space is bigger than I thought. There's no way this is going to be more than $10,000.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking it's going to be like 10 to 12. And so I'm like, we're not going to do it. But like, just because he measured and it was like 15 feet off the house is where we were like, this is probably a good spot. And once he started measuring, I was like, this is a pretty big patio. Like, okay, well, this is going to be a no-go, but at least we're getting him for the landscaping. So he walks us through everything and like starts talking and, talk through some different ideas. And I was like, he goes, yeah, so the next step, I think we can do all this for you. The next step would be going into our design phase. And, we meet with our designers, pick out the exact colors, all of that. They'll mock it up for you, give you the exact plans we're going to put in. You'll get like a 3D rendering of everything, blah, blah, blah. He goes, that part will be $1,500 for the design phase. And so I'm looking at him and I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, so that's just the design part. And so I told him then, I was like, okay, yeah. My first goal was I didn't want this man to feel like I was wasting his time.
Yeah.
Because he came out here, he'd spent like 20 minutes answering questions and stuff with us. So I was at no point ever going to let him see on my face what I was reacting to. Because when he said $1,500 for design process,
at
I
that point.
immediately
Yeah.
said to myself, we're not using this guy.
This is like getting a free sample somewhere.
Yeah.
At this point.
And so he was like, it's gonna be $1,500, it'll get you the full rendering. We'll have the exact plan. He goes, and then we are really booked. He's like, so we won't be able to get to, like, we can do that within the next month. And then we'll probably be able to get to the project like end of November. Strike two. So Liz and I are like, well, we don't like end of November.
Yeah,
Why the
what?
frick do we want in the middle of the winter?
Like
Yeah.
snow on the ground.
Yeah, like, no, thank you. So anyways, he still hasn't said anything about price. So he goes, so does that all like sound good? Something you want to move forward with? It's like, well, can you give us like a ballpark? I was like, I know you can't give us a quote until the design, but
He's
like,
like, you want to fit a whole ballpark back here?
I was like, can you
Yeah,
just give me
might
like
as
a
well.
ballpark figure just so I know? I was like, because we're getting this quoted out by a few different other people, and I just want to know like where y'all compare before we decide to go on
Yeah.
to the $1,500 design process.
That's well worded.
Spoiler alert, we're not doing that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I was just like, what is this guy going to cost? He goes, all right, well, he's like, so this is going to include everything. The softscaping up front, hardscaping in the back. Very cool wording, by the way.
That's
Yeah,
cool
very
wording.
cool.
Manscaping.
What about the manscape? Dang it.
Gotcha.
So he's like, yeah, so, the softscaping up front and around the side, he's like, low end, that's going to cost about $8,000. And I looked at him, and at that point, I immediately, I'm like, what is this patio about to cost
Bro,
me?
Hunter, you get me over there for a glass of lemonade and a sandwich, and
This is
and
what
I
I'm
could
hoping
rip-
this story is leading to is all of us going and doing your
I say
landscaping.
we can rip that tree.
Oh, no,
out
I'm getting some
together.
more. I'm definitely getting more quotes because,
I say,
but we're not even done. We're not done
Yeah,
because
okay.
that's the softscape.
let me give you a plan then afterwards.
Okay, so that's the softscaping. He tells me $8,000, and again, no
Yeah,
facial
just
reaction from
dead
me
straight face,
because
huh?
I'm inside laughing very hard.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping Liz behind me, her jaw isn't on the floor.
The
But
landscapers in the comments.
we
are
both
like
kept
gonna-
ourselves
are gonna
together
murder
right
you
now.
for this, but
And
who can
so
afford that?
homeboy says $8,000 for that. I'm like, what the frick? So, and then I was like, okay, yeah. What's the patio? Like, what about for the patio? He goes, with what you're planning here, he goes, low end 20, high end 25,000.
Gosh.
And so I was like-
my gosh. That is
He goes,
To
that
pour
is-
some
he goes,
concrete,
criminal.
bro.
He goes all in. He goes, he goes all in. Don't expect less than 30,000 when it's all said and done. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, man, for sure. And then he's like, well, you have me out here for the consultation. Any other questions or anything? Take advantage of me while I'm out here. Like, let me know anything. And Liz and I are both like, no, I think we're good. I think you answered everything.
Yeah, please leave my house.
Gosh,
And then-
get out of here.
I don't want to know how much this consultation costs.
It was $70. Yeah, it was.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
Liz
that's
had
like the
told
only
me-
reasonable
Liz
thing.
had told me we were getting a free quote. And then he was like, yeah, so after that, he was like, so if you guys want to move forward, you can just reach back out to me, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes, did they send you the email for the consultation invoice? And I was like, not that I know
you
of.
got to be terrified at that moment.
And
Yeah.
Liz is like, no, not yet. She goes, I did see in the email where you could write a check. And I was like, oh, I can write you a check. He goes, well, if you'd rather pay online, he goes, they typically send it like the next day if they didn't send it yet. I was like, okay, we can just pay online.
I would have been
And then
shaking
Liz was like,
at that point.
Liz told me inside, she's like, it was $70. I was like, that's fine. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Whatever.
terrifying. I mean,
I would have been like, oh my gosh.
all right, let me take out a loan.
Here's
for
the
consultation.
game plan, Connor, or Hunter, because
You can tell me too if you like.
yeah, both of you, because the front yard is the main thing that needs to be tackled, right?
Easy.
And
Easy.
a big part of the work, and probably what they're quoting, is getting those trees out.
Just dig that crap up, man.
So we all dig it up, and then you get a quote. Because like the fancy stuff, the fancy part is the mulch and the planting, right?
But the fancy part is just mulch and planting. You can just buy
We'll
plants.
do the dirty work.
Yeah.
I'm just saying if you wanted to go halfway, but we can
but
also just
pulling
mulch and
pulling
plant.
the bushes out is the hardest part. You might as well mulch
I've
and
already
plant after
accepted
that.
I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I'm
No
not doing
problem.
the back patio. Screw that. Screw that
We can
noise.
pour
So
some
are you
concrete.
doing
trying? Are you
another-
trying to pour concrete, or are you trying to just put like stones
just
down?
pavers.
Yeah. That's not.
Well, I
hard
mean, we
either.
were gonna have to like level it up, and
There would have been some.
I don't want to do the paver part.
There
but
have been some effort for that.
I am getting another guy.
That takes a little bit more.
My dad.
skill.
So my dad put
That
in.
is crazy. $8,000 just to rip some trees out of that.
So
is
my dad
crazy.
is
I
getting
feel
me in
like that
contact
was
with
a
his
prank.
landscaper, and this guy.
Maybe it's because
has
you're
been
a
doing-
young couple with a
Maybe.
house in a nicer neighborhood, and he was just thinking like they could get you.
That's the thing. That if I put that patio in and did the landscaping, it would be more than 10% the value of my house.
Right.
To do that. More than 10%.
I bet. I
Like,
wonder if it's because y'all are a young couple and like
30,000.
he
I
just
feel like I
thought-
could. I feel like I could screen in the porch and put a roof on that patio.
Yeah, that's
for
what I was
30 grand.
thinking.
Maybe as soon as he told you that, maybe it's like this: like he tells you that design fee, and if you don't flinch because you are acting, but maybe
I was fully
Maybe
acting.
if you don't flinch, then he's like, ooh. And then he goes to another price.
I think what
and if
it
you don't
is-
flinch on that one, he goes even higher to see what he can get.
I think what that was because he couldn't get me till November. I think that they are just like the fat cats at City Hall. Like they got all the work they want in the world, and they're like, we don't really
We're not
need anything
taking
else on our
anything unless
schedule.
we're
Yeah,
getting
I
fat
agree.
bonuses.
So like something they normally do for 10, 15 grand, they're like 30. You bite, we'll do it in November. You don't
Capitalism.
bite, that's fine.
I think
I think that's what was going
You're
on.
the victim of capitalism.
I think what I would have done the moment that he said just the fee for them using a software that they have, I would have been like this. Get off of my property right now.
No, I wanted him
the thing,
to. I wanted him to feel
$1,500
like
for
he
the
didn't waste his
design,
time
like-
with this like two young
Yeah.
kids.
For
No,
somebody-
I understand.
and so I
the
was just like,
feeling.
oh, okay.
For somebody to
Yeah.
hop into design software and like whip up a porch real quick and some trees in the front, like that must take
Like,
them
they're probably
less than
using
2 hours.
They're probably using Sims 4. Like I could do that in 10 minutes.
Minecraft, bro.
What if they gave it to you and it was Minecraft? That'd be so funny.
It's like you see the dirt blocks here
No,
look
what if
really
you were
good
like,
with
what if
this
you were like,
acacia
I've actually
wood.
got like kind of like a drawing drawn out of like what I wanted to look like. Can
And
I
you
show you? Come
show-
in the house. Come in my game room. And
You
it's just a
show
Minecraft like world.
You
Yeah, so
build
my
Minecraft.
dad has a landscaping guy he's used for my whole life. And this guy, like, he doesn't have like a company, like he's just a landscaper. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so he already, before this guy ever showed up, we knew we were getting a quote from him too. So I called my dad after because I just wanted the shock value to my dad. And my dad had, I don't know if y'all have seen it, he had like this retaining wall put in and like a 3-tier patio put in with a fire pit in the middle.
Yeah.
Way more extensive than what I was looking for.
Right.
Way
That's a
more
very
space.
nice space, yeah.
And to get it, they had to like bring dirt in,
Yeah.
dig up his already existing sidewalk, and like all this stuff. Way more extensive project. So I just called my dad, and the first thing I said was, I was like, how much did you end up paying for your patio and retaining wall? He goes, I don't know, son. He goes, I would know the range. He's like, why? I was like, well, we just got a quote for our patio. I was like, it was pretty small patio compared to yours, and I was just trying to see if we're in the same ballpark. He goes, well, you shouldn't be anywhere close to the same ballpark. I was like, well, did you pay $30,000 for yours? He goes, what? He goes, no. He goes, we weren't even close to $30,000. What are you talking about?
Oh, that's so.
And I was like, yeah, because that's what he quoted me for mine and my landscape. And he goes, oh, son, you told him no, right? I was like, of course I told him no, Dad. I was like, actually, I didn't tell him anything. I just told him, oh yeah, we'll get in touch. And I was like, I let him drive off to never see him again. and then he's like, well, did he quote you on the landscaping out front? I said, yeah, $8,000 to $9,000. And my dad goes, son, oh my, you said no to that too, right? I was like, Dad, how dumb do you think I am? I was like, of course I said no to that. I was like, I could do that in a Saturday, like one weekend of hard labor, I could do it.
Yeah.
I was like, I just don't want to do it. 1 weekend of hard labor. He's like, the max that you should be paying for that landscaping, getting those trees out was like $2,000 to $3,000. And he goes, and that would still like, I would be like, that's a little expensive if someone
Yeah.
told you that. He goes, $8,000 to $9,000. He goes, what are they thinking? And I was like, I don't know. He goes, well, my guy, he's like, he will not be nearly that expensive. So I'm excited to hear what this guy says, at least.
That is too funny.
Second bright note, this guy could get it turned around in June, he said.
There we go.
Next month. So
that's pretty sick.
Dang, dude, I was just starting to get my bush.
Well,
we
still have to hear.
My gloves in already.
We still have to hear his quote.
Okay.
Because if he comes back at $2,000,
Konner and I,
we're cheap.
Yeah.
Oh, if he comes,
KT landscaping.
If this guy comes
we
come
in at probably like 1.5.
The breakfast nook landscaping.
Yeah,
Well,
we come in like 1.5.
If this guy comes back at like, the front landscaping we can do for $2,000, Liz and I will probably be like, okay, no.
Dude.
Because I've already accepted in my head, like, in my head, I'm now viewing, it's saving $8,000 if I do it myself. That's what I'm already viewing.
It's like, what else can I spend $8,000
It's got to be a competitive price with your Saturday.
That's what I mean. We shut the door, and Liz just busted up laughing, and she said, $30,000, I'd rather you just buy me another car. And I was like, well, B, we're not spending $30,000. It's not
She's like, well, if we already have $30,000 in the budget, then we should just not do this.
I was like, he said that number. I didn't say that number.
That is
We're
so
not just
funny.
like, oh, how do we blow $30,000?
That's really
It's a patio or a car.
That's a funny. Imagine if you lived life like that. You just like got quotes for things. They were like, oh, that's way too expensive. I'm just gonna use that money on something else I want.
Yeah. Oh my god, for a patio, I'm just gonna buy a car. It's like we're not doing that.
I didn't realize people paid for stuff like that because whenever I was really young, really shortened life story right here. Whenever I was really young, like until I was like getting into middle school, my dad made a decent amount of money at his job, and we had a really nice house with 18 acres and a huge farm that didn't produce anything. We just had horses because we liked them, and so we were doing pretty well. Well, then that was like around the time of a somewhat recession, and my dad lost his job and had to go back to a job that would like paid nothing, not nothing compared to what he was making, but like nothing. It was like a very, very low income job. So we like sold our house and everything and lived with my grandparents for like a summer, and then eventually got our house that they live in now. But we spent a good bit of my childhood not having a lot of money, and we did everything ourselves. And my dad's parents didn't have a lot of money, so they did everything themselves. My grandpa was a truck driver, and him and my dad would do all the fixing to his truck. They would put the tires on his truck. They would do all the maintenance and everything. They do everything around the house. So that's like I grew up with us doing everything. Fast forward to now, my dad has now worked his way back up to where he's now got a decent paying job again. But he still has like the mindset of like, I can do whatever just with it. Usually I YouTube it and he does it, or we do it together and I'll YouTube it to figure out how to do it. And, but now they're doing a bunch of landscaping to their house, and my dad's working a lot more and going out of town a lot more. So he's having to introduce the idea in his head of getting other people to do things. And so he comes in and has people quote things, and we're just like, how is that so expensive? Why do people pay so much money for that? Like,
I don't know what's going on.
To give you an idea, last year my dad borrowed a bobcat from a friend and like an excavator, and dug up the whole yard to build himself a French drain. He put his own French drain into the yard, like for the septic system, because the septic wasn't working. And so he got it quoted and was like, I don't want to pay that. And so he just dug it all up himself and ran all the hoses himself. And it's just funny. But it wasn't till I got into college and I was like hearing all my friends and stuff like that, and I was like, you can pay someone to get your oil changed? I was like, discovering all that stuff. And so whenever I hear things like that, it is crazy to me. That is just, it's completely nuts.
I don't know who's paying that. I mean, if you look on their website, they do really good work. Like, they do much better work than I would ever be able to do.
They better.
But they don't do that good of work.
Those trees better be growing gold.
They don't do that good of work. Yeah, we'll put it that way.
Dang.
My house would have looked fantastic, but I would have regretted it every time I stepped on those stones.
Yeah.
And you probably would have been freaking out if like anything happened to your landscaping, because like obviously your landscaping needs to be maintained.
Yeah, that's the other thing too.
You spend that much
your
money
mulch
on
bed,
it?
like with how many squirrels we have and deer, like that. That landscaping's not lasting more than like 2 years.
The patio is one thing, but like when you're doing like mulching and stuff like that, it's best to do it yourself, because like that stuff's gonna go bad, like, and it's like
the patio side, like once it got past like $5,000 or $6,000 to put the patio in and towards that 10,000 mark, it was just going to be a question of like, I probably would have called a real estate agent, like my friend Logan or something, and just be like, hey, how much value is this going to add to my house? Like having this nice patio where we can grill and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
where's that line? Because like if I put 10 in and when we sell our house, it's gonna make my house worth 15 more or something. Just having that like entertainment space, sure, because that's an investment. Or even if I put 10 in and we get 8 back out for it or something like that, then we're looking at we lost $2,000. We basically paid $2,000 to put this patio. in. 30, like my house isn't gonna just snap your fingers and it's like, oh, the patio 10% more to your house, and that's even more than that. It'd be like 15% more to your house. Like heck no.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane.
I don't know what these people are thinking.
That is bizarre.
So I was at home and I still had to like edit this Facebook video and stuff that I was doing. And I went home like 30 minutes early. I was like, what a waste of my time.
I could tell you the list of things I could make that I would spend $30,000 on before I spend it on landscaping would be a crazy long list.
Yeah.
And like I think that like I might even buy just a lifetime supply of like Capri Suns before I put in a porch for $30,000.
I don't know if I go, well, yeah. If it was like that's tough. Because the tough part is like
that list.
I would
be
rather
long.
have the patio than a lifelong supply of Capri Sun. But you could at least tell people like, yeah, lifelong supply of Capri Sun cost me $30. People be like, oh wow, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's kind of a good deal.
This patio cost me $30. People are like,
yeah,
oh,
something to think
man,
about.
I didn't realize
you got ripped
chump.
off. Yeah, dang, I'm so sorry.
I just realized that we are having the most ironic conversation ever because we're talking about how much people charge for landscaping and stuff like that while we make Frisbee videos. Like,
What
it's
do you
just
mean?
funny.
We don't charge anybody for
Yeah,
Frisbee.
no
Well,
one-
you're right.
you can watch our Frisbee videos for free, man. We're just some Frisbee freaks in a freaking park.
You're right. It was just funny.
Disc golf is a cheap barrier to entry, man. There ain't nobody charging $30,000
That's right.
for
That's
nothing.
right.
We had I had some people who
I'm
live
sorry, you're right. It was
somewhere around here in the Gables. He actually rolled up on a one wheel, Konner.
Whoa.
Oh, cool.
And
One
his,
wheel buddies?
I'm assuming it's his wife. When they walked in kind of staggered.
Oh, it's
Was
always
he?
tricky.
Was he? Never mind.
They walked in kind of staggered, so I couldn't tell if they were together. But then once
I was
they
gonna
were
start
in, they
describing
clearly
this guy, and I forgot what he looked like, so it wasn't.
once they were in, they clearly knew each other.
Is that important to the
So
story?
I couldn't tell if they were me.
No, it's like,
No.
is their relationship important to the story?
No,
Okay.
not at all. Well, somewhat because of like I didn't know if I was talking to both of them or if I was helping the woman. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, am I
Gotcha.
talking to a couple and
Right.
answering both of their questions,
Right.
or am I just helping this one customer? Doesn't matter. But regardless, he had played disc golf apparently years ago, but hadn't played in a long time. She had never played, and she was like, "So what? Why are there so many discs?" And I was like explaining, "Oh yeah, like this one, sharper edge goes. It's a faster disc. It cuts through the air more, but it's harder to throw. More blunt edge, easier to throw, easier to keep straight. Slower disc, so it's like a putter and driver. Blah blah blah." And then she was like, "Yeah, I've seen like baskets at Peaksview Park and stuff like that before." I'm like, "Yeah, the Peaksview's the best beginner course." And then she was like, "So like, what do you need to get started? Like, how many discs do you need?" And I was like, "Just one." And she's like, "Really?" So like, what are the prices? And I was like, $7 to $20 is the typical range. I was like, but if you're just getting started and you don't know if you're gonna like it, I was like, we got a used section and you can pick up a putter for $5. I was like, that's all you need to go out there and have a good time. She's like, really?
Mind blowing.
I was like, yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Like, even just hearing you say that, and I even know how easy it is. Like, that is just insane that you can start playing a sport for that cheap.
So she was like,
to its pretty much its full extent.
yeah. So that's
I'm
what
inspired.
she ended up she didn't buy it. She's like, man. She's like, I'll have to come back in here.
Play disc golf.
And then they both walked out and they were both just like, man, we can spend $5 and have a new activity. I'm like, that's the joy of disc golf.
It is.
That is the joy of disc
But
golf.
the whole reason they found
Meanwhile,
us,
he had a $2,500 one wheel.
yeah, the whole reason, yeah, it was a full size one.
It was
the
the
whole,
GT. I think I've seen it right.
The whole
around.
reason they noticed and like came in was because they said on Saturday when they went to leave their apartments, they noticed a line and were like, what on earth is going on? And they saw it was going around the corner.
It's a party.
And they're like, we had to check it out. We had to see what it was. It's like,
Nice.
just a bunch of Frisbees.
Just a bunch of Frisbees.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
That's my favorite part is like that's the store opening like had to look crazy to the apartment community in here. And then they walk into our store and they're like, they're Frisbees.
I was,
like,
what are they handing out free iPhones around the corner?
They
Like,
have to be money laundering in here. What is
Yeah.
going on behind that door right there?
You don't want to know.
Nothing
You
good.
don't want to know.
nothing good back here.
Like, just think about if you didn't know what disc golf
It's
was.
a mattress shop
and
back
you
here.
saw this huge line wrapped around the building, and you went into the store, and it was just a bunch of Frisbees.
I think that would be your first.
Disc golf is a
assumption.
cult.
Yeah, it's a good one though.
On Sunday at my church, I was playing in the band, and there's the guys like doing like the welcome or whatever. They were just like checking their mics, and so they were just thinking of things to talk about, so the sound guys could check their mics and everything. And one of the guys, his name is Peter, and I know him, and he knows he's like a Foundation fan and everything. And whenever I was doing the Ace Challenge, he walked by. He was playing the course, and so
nice.
he saw me doing that. And so he was telling the other guy that was on stage with him. He was like, yeah, because they were just trying to find things to talk about. He was like, oh yeah, Konner right here. He works for a company called Foundation Disc Golf, and like this all. He was like explaining it to him and everything. And the guy looked at me, and I was like, yep, I like to play with Frisbees. And then he was like, oh, yeah, but so it is okay to call them Frisbees? And I was like, I said Frisbees ironically. And then it was a funny moment. That was it.
I don't mind people calling them Frisbees.
I say Frisbees ironically because I think it's funny. I like the vibe that it produces, but like it's
it
not
depends
like,
on the moment.
Here's how it works, okay?
It depends on where you are.
Here's how it works. When you first get into disc golf, it's a no-no. You don't call them Frisbees. But then once you're in it, once you're in it long enough to where like you know the rules, then you can start calling it.
It's like English, the English language.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once you're a good enough author at writing, you can break the rules of the English language intentionally to help get a point across. Like the best authors use bad grammar, they use it intentionally to make people feel so.
I'm really into calling them golf discs. I don't think people call them golf discs.
I think golf discs is cool.
That's what my English teacher, my literature teacher used to teach us, was like, teach us all these rules. And we were like, why do we need to know this? And she's like, well, when you're writing, you can intentionally break this rule and it'll make people feel this way. So like you write it this way, this way, this way, and then when you break this rule, it'll help convey this message. Essentially, I was like, fascinating. It's kind of the same thing in disc golf.
It's like if
somebody,
like if an older guy kind of knew what I did and I was around him and he was explaining to somebody else, he was like, oh yeah, he's a frisbeer. He's one of those frisbeers, one of those frisbee golfers.
Not cool.
That's not cool.
I think frisbee. As soon as you say frisbee golf, then it's not cool.
Yeah.
It's like you're holding.
I'm learning so much.
I think if you're like holding a disc in your hand to the point where like they know it's a disc. Like the person you're talking to has to know your expertise enough to know that it's called a disc, right? If I was talking to some beginner, and I would not be saying, yeah, this frisbee's pretty cool. But if I'm talking to somebody who's in the disc golf scene and knows that they're a disc, then I would say, yeah, this frisbee is a pretty cool frisbee. You know, it's.
I definitely say
it.
frisbee more than disc these days.
That's tough. That's a tough spot to be in.
Don't know if you want to do that.
Oh, okay.
I think that's a no.
I am just kidding.
That's going to be a no for me.
All right.
You're not going to Hollywood.
I keep on seeing these clips. I watch a lot of YouTube shorts instead of TikTok because I just don't go on TikTok, but I go on YouTube to watch YouTube videos, and then I get lost watching shorts for like an hour. But I keep on seeing all these Shark Tank ones. And
I love Shark Tank.
They're so intriguing to me.
I have had some crazy phases where I just watched
my favorite like
hours of Shark
CNBC show. I think that's what Shark Tank is on, right? Is The Profit with
that?
Marcus
What is
Lemonis.
that?
Oh, you'll never watch The Profit?
I've only ever watched Shark Tank on that channel.
Oh man, this is the best. This is the best TV show ever. So Marcus Lemonis is a billionaire who owns like Camping World, like that RV store. He owns a few other things.
Okay.
Billionaire. He's like low billionaire, like 1 point some billion.
Oh,
so just a small billionaire.
Why is he even on a TV show then?
No, so
Stupid.
basically what he does is businesses that are like have good bones but are failing to a certain degree will reach out to him and be like, hey, would you be interested in investing in our business? And so then his team will like screen all of these and pick out the ones they feel like are going to have like the best storyline and stuff like that to make good TV. But it's like for him, it's 100% real investment and stuff. And you can tell in the show that he's not like some of it will be like somewhat staged, but you can tell the like actual bones of what he's doing.
Yeah.
He doesn't mess around. So he'll walk in. So like he wouldn't do something with us like foundation or like retail a lot of times unless like he does it with more proprietary stuff. Like they make their own furniture and they make their own whatever. Stuff that he feels like he can scale or he can use his connections to bring. And so he basically comes in and first thing he does, he meets all the people that work there, talks to them, they walk him through. And up front, the owners always have everything together. You know what I mean? Typically, the first thing you'll notice is one of the owners, if there's multiple owners or the main owner, will at some point, he'll be like, so what's your cost on this? And they won't know. Strike number one. But that happens pretty much every episode. People never know their numbers. And he'll always be like, well, you knew I was coming, right? And they're like, yeah. He goes, and you still didn't take time to learn your numbers? And they'll be like, They're like, well, it fluctuates so much. He goes, oh, okay, that's fine. And then he's like, so tell me about this, and just brushes it to the side. But you're like, oh, he's coming back to that.
Mm-hmm.
And so then he'll like talk to the owners.
He's
and
like
then,
the Gordon Ramsay of money.
Certainly, yeah.
Sounds like it.
And he goes around and like he'll check out the whole shop and just be taking mental notes of things that he feels like I could immediately do this. And so then he sits down with them and he's like, all right, show me your P&L, your profit and loss, and your balance sheet for the past few years. And he goes over them line by line. And then he's like, okay. So at this point is when he's either ready to invest, or sometimes he's like, look, I'm willing to help you guys. And if we can fix these things, then I'm willing to invest. Mm-hmm. But your business is too broken right now. I can't invest because of X, Y, or Z that I saw. Or he'll be like, I'm willing to invest. That's the best part, is when he's willing to invest, because he'll be like, what's your business worth? Mm-hmm. 10 times out of 10, they say way too much money.
Yeah.
They'll be like,
that's classic Shark Tank.
They'll be like, what's your business worth? What would you think your business is worth?
They'll be like $3 million.
Yeah, they'll be like, $3 million.
How much sales did you do? 100,000.
Well, he'll have the profit and loss in front of him.
Yeah.
So he'll say $3 million, and he'll be like, guys, you lost $90,000 last year. You have $500,000 in debt. How do you think your business is worth? Like, and then he immediately goes to them and he'll be like, here's what I'll do. I'll put in $500,000 to wipe out your debt, and I want 50% of your business. And then they're like, well, I don't want to do that because I don't want to give away my like decision-making rights. He goes, oh, you're giving them away. And it's like straight up.
You're
like,
obviously not good at it.
You can see, because, well, then he'll sometimes he'll be like, here's the deal. You can say no to me. I'll walk away today. No problem. He goes, you will still have that $500,000 in debt, and your business will be bankrupt 3 months from now. He goes, or you can say yes, your debt's wiped away. I will make the decisions, and I'll make you a lot of money, but you're going to have to, I will be the decision maker. You don't make any decisions. I make the decisions. And people just look at him like, what do we do? And he does everything on a handshake. There's no contracts. Everything's on a handshake.
Oh, interesting.
Fascinating. Yeah, because he's like...
Well, is that TV, though?
No, he's been... I watched a lot of interviews with him. He's like, no, I 100%. He's like, I don't use lawyers. I handshake agreements. Because if you break a handshake agreement, that's fine. He's like, then I just will stop working with you.
Billionaire mindset.
And he's like, I trust... He's like, my handshake is my agreement. That's my contract. I'm like, what the frick?
Yeah, that'll never backfire.
This dude's writing $1 million checks. Just like, all right, we got a deal? Like handshake, boom.
That was like the whole. But that was a problem with the last 10 years of disc golf.
So then what'll happen is he'll come in and just start really shaking things up, and he's really good at like managing people. So almost the first thing he does is he gets in and he talks to employees, and they will like point out what issues could be and stuff like that, and then he'll sit down with the owner and like start pinpointing things, and it's just fascinating because then typically he either fixes the business or the owner blows up at him. And part of like when he shakes, part of it is like when they talk through, there's like certain deals where if he shakes their hand, like if he walks away, they keep the money. There's other deals where he's paying them directly for the percentage, and there's like a certain time frame. And if he walks away in that time frame, they owe him the money back. And so then there's some deals where like they blow up at him and he just is like, all right, well, you know what? Tomorrow, give me $100,000 check and I'm out of here. And then they're just like, what? It's fascinating. But yeah, I love the show.
All those CNBC shows are genius because like, for
instance, there's 8 seasons of it. I've binged them all.
For instance, like Shark Tank and like this show, basically it's business guys who are already successful in business. They're like, let's create a TV show that is going to be successful and make money because it's a successful TV show. But then it's also just going to provide investment opportunities like Shark Tank. I mean, they're literally like, yeah, let's go ahead and get everybody with a genius idea that hasn't had a spotlight yet to come straight to us, the investors, to where we can then buy into it if we want to or not.
And whenever someone's on Shark Tank, there's a massive bump immediately.
Yes, it's like
that's what happens with this show too. Is like he
you put him in the spotlight.
He went into like a key lime pie business with a company in Key West, Florida, and the guy like refused to listen to him, and that was a really good episode because the guy like. The owner ended up having like nervous breakdowns and stuff and like freaking out because Marcus was trying to get him to see the bigger picture and like focus. And the guy finally did it. And his sales like exploded because the guy like wasn't shipping pies, wasn't doing all of this. And Marcus was like, because he was the award-winning key lime pie of the Key West, but you could only get it there.
That's a big deal.
Yeah. And so Marcus was like, you have this. Like, we could easily replicate this and get it nationwide. And now they're just like doing millions of pie sales.
Sounds like this guy is basically all business Brad.
more or less.
But Brad's just a lot nicer.
They
Yeah. Well, this guy's very nice.
he's all business.
That's the other thing I love is like they'll have meetings, right? Where like he walks in and they'll be pretty much every time there's a rebrand because most of the companies branding and website sucks. And so he's also invested in like design firms and stuff. And so he'll bring these companies into his design firms. That's cool. And he like walks in and there's graphic designers and stuff there. And Marcus sits down and just like every time, like he isn't like being rude or anything, but like every time you can tell he's the most powerful person in the room. Like whatever room he walks into, people just like submit to him every time.
Yeah.
And like he's just like his
he
like,
owns them all.
That's kind of like you here, though. I feel like.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah,
Like,
you're right. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I completely agree.
No, he just has like a way of like I don't know, and he's also has a way of just like getting people to like. He's really I don't know. I've always wanted to like
love him
see.
too, man.
I've told Liz multiple times. I was like, I would love just for him to come into our business and just like look through it with a fine tooth comb and just point out like,
Yeah, right, dude. We're all getting canned.
what we're missing. No, that's the other thing. Is
Take one look at us
what do you guys
and
do?
throw us in
I've
the
only ever
street.
seen him fire one person,
And they were
but it
asking
was
for
like it was one that like
They were asking for
the
it.
guy should have been fired years ago.
Yeah, we know what he did.
A lot of times, like there was one recently that I watched where it was the first crab shop in the Bronx,
The Bronx.
and this one was
Where is
fascinating.
the Bronx?
New York.
Shop in the
Yeah,
Bronx.
I know it's in New York, but where? Like, what's the Bronx?
It's just a
It's
district.
near the zoo.
Where, though?
Like there's Queens, Bronx,
Yes,
Brooklyn.
yes.
They're all in New York City.
What do you mean? It's like
Yeah.
Bedford.
It's the outer
Wilshire.
boroughs of New York
so
City.
the Bronx, yeah, okay, I know. So the Bronx is one of those.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Bronx Zoo. Been there multiple times.
And so he
fun
walks
time.
in, and this was the first one where like these two women started this crab shop. They both had like really high paying jobs. Started this crab shop, quit their high paying jobs, start the crab shop, and they were killing it. Like during COVID, as
So
a
they grew crabs?
yeah, during COVID as a crab shop, a crab restaurant, they doubled their sales in New York
That's amazing.
during COVID somehow.
dang.
People wanted that seafood.
It was wild. And during that time, the only guy that showed up, I forget his name, but there's one, I think we'll just call him Marcus. It wasn't Marcus, but I think it was like Mark or something. But there was one guy that showed up and was like their main employee during that time.
Yeah.
But when Marcus showed up, the other employees were talking crap about him, of how this guy like doesn't want to work. He just like wants to sit back and play on his phone and stuff just gives passing. And so Marcus was very confused by it because he's like, the business was like, this guy saved their business well in a lot of ways during COVID. But like now a few months later, everyone in the restaurant's talking about how much he sucks.
Dang,
But the
bro.
owners wouldn't. The owners were like babying him to a certain extent.
So he's the favorite.
And so, well, yeah, but because what he did
He's
during
the
COVID.
goat, yeah.
And so
Clean
Marcus,
house, let's
this
go.
was the first time that Marcus sat down. He said, "What?" And he looked through their numbers. And he was like, "What do you think your business is worth?" And they said $1 million. And he goes, "No." And I'm thinking, "Oh, it's worth less." He goes, "Your business is worth." He goes, "Do not take, if anyone ever comes in here, do not take less than 3.5 million for this business." I was like,
Wow.
"Wait, what the frick?"
Dang, that never happened.
So he bought into the business with $1 million. Mm-hmm. And there was no debt on the business. It was profitable. A portion of it went to like redoing the design and the whole interior, but then the rest of it just went straight to the people for the percentage he bought in. I forget how much it was. I guess like 30% or something. I think he made them all equal partners. But then he took this guy under his wing that he was like knew had a lot of potential because what he did during COVID that was now like failing, and took him out to like go crab fishing so that they could like source it directly from the coast instead of right now they're dealing with the middleman, and so like cut their costs drastically and all this stuff. But he took this guy under his wing and was like asked him a bunch of questions and stuff of like trying to figure out what the guy wanted, and then Marcus basically just created a whole role for him specifically that he ended up doing everything that he was slacking on in this like new role, and then he just like took off. So then it like had like an update, and he was basically like had become the like full operating manager of the business, and the business had like tripled and stuff like that. It was crazy.
Wow.
But Marcus, that's
Crabs.
basically, I feel like at this point, someone who is like that successful and that wealthy, they're not doing like day-to-day administrative work. I feel like how he got there, at least Marcus, how he got there, is he's just really good at reading people and knowing how to get the best out of people.
Yeah.
And so he basically, because At this point, he's done 8 seasons, and he basically invests in a business every single episode.
Yeah.
So the dude, not including what he did to
He's
become...
got his money in a lot of places.
Yeah, not including what he did to become a billionaire in the first place, he now also has invested in probably at least like 60 businesses. So like, obviously that dude ain't got time. If you spent a week with each business, you wouldn't have enough time in the year.
Yeah.
Right.
So clearly he doesn't have enough time. So clearly he has like people under him, but he's very like intentional and personal to where like even in interviews and stuff, when like they ask him about a business, he can just rattle off stuff about how the business is doing currently.
Wow.
And I'm like, this guy's just built a team around him that he must just like meet with like every week that just fills him all the information on what he needs on everything. It's I'm fascinated by him.
That is crazy.
Yeah. And yeah, I love Marcus Lemonis.
I feel like if I
Let's all
could be
give it up
from
for
one of
Marcus.
those, if I could be from one of those places in New York, like I feel like Queens always sounds cool. How about you? Brooklyn's cool.
I would go Brooklyn just because the Nets. I don't like the Brooklyn Nets, but I'd want to be where I'd want to be where a basketball team is.
Well, where like what part do you have to be in to be like? I feel like you can live anywhere in New York and be like.
Well, you're gonna be within like a walking distance of the stadium, probably anywhere in those boroughs.
Well, where do you have to be close to MSG?
MSG is just like Times Square, like it's right off.
Right.
the
So
main.
what's close to that?
All of them. Have you ever been to New York?
No.
You can walk pretty much if you just wanted to walk everywhere in New York between all those boroughs. You could, more or less.
Yeah.
Like when we went, we like walked to Central Park and then we walked over to get on a ferry to go to the Statue of Liberty, and then we walked back to our hotel. And the other thing too is it never actually gets dark in New York because around Times Square, because it's so bright. Like Times Square is basically the sun.
That's amazing.
So like, you can be out at 3
I was supposed to go to New York and then Hurricane Sandy hit.
You can be out at like 3 a.m. and this was pre-COVID. It's probably different now, but pre-COVID, you could be out at 3 a.m. and the streets are like bustling like it's 2 p.m.
The city that never sleeps.
Honestly, there was when I went to New York though. We did go to leave one morning. We went on Easter weekend, and we didn't know this about Easter weekend. Apparently, that's gang initiation weekend. And apparently part of gang initiation weekend is like sometimes, this doesn't always happen, but apparently this is what the hotel worker was telling us. So this could be complete bullcrap. Okay. But what the hotel worker was telling us was part of gang initiation weekend is some of the members they will make just go out and kill someone, like random person. Nice. And so that happened in front of our hotel, apparently. So we went to leave that morning and the front entrance of the hotel was blocked and no one would tell us why. And then we walked, so they said, you have to go out the back. And there was a police officer telling us that. So we walked out the back, and of course, the first thing we did is walk around to the front of the hotel to see what the heck's going on. And they had the crime scene tape up, and they were zipping up a body bag. And there was like blood all over the street. I was like, what the heck? Because this is like 7 a.m. And I was like, what the heck happened? So then we went out about our day, because everyone, that was the other thing. No, we were the only people that stopped to look at like what's going on. Everyone else is just like walking by, looking at you like, why the heck are you stopping?
Dude.
I'm like, there is a dead person right here. Like you're walking past a crime scene right here.
Stuff doesn't go down.
No one
in
cared.
Lynchburg, Virginia.
No one cared. And then we get back to the hotel, and I said something to the like doorman or person at the check-in desk. He's like, yeah, it's gang initiation weekend. There's always one or two out there. He goes, you'll notice it tonight. He goes, now that that's happened, they'll know kind of where gangs are targeting. He goes, you'll see more police officers tonight than you've ever seen in your life. And so obviously we were kind of scared to go out, but we still did because we were like, we're in New York. You gotta see this. And sure enough, they had like barricades. Like the sidewalks were barricaded like up to here. And like every like 15 feet, there was a police officer with an assault rifle. Just like every 15, 20 feet.
Dude.
And then they had like police towers on the corners and stuff.
With
it was
snipers?
It was wild.
I've never lived
I was
in
like,
the city,
I feel like
bro.
I'm in a war zone right now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Forget that.
That was the last time I went to New York.
I like the suburbs.
Don't know why.
I used to go to New York like every summer growing up, and I was always only concerned with one thing, and that was how do I get in the party cab? What's the cab with the that was the TV show?
Oh yeah, that asks you questions. Yeah, the trivia cab or something.
Something like that. Have you ever seen that, Trevor?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's funny.
I just wanted to get in that taxi, but we didn't ever take taxis, so it didn't.
My biggest concern when I went to New York every time was there was this big magic shop.
Oh god.
Based out of New York.
I mean, I would have heard about that too.
And there was it was kind of like Foundation in a way. Now that I think about it, maybe this is why Foundation is the way it is. Basically, how I discovered the magic shop was the owner of the magic shop would make I forget what the name of the magic shop was now, but he made weekly videos where he just like did street magic for people, or he would just do magic in the shop or whatever. Like he constantly was just doing the tricks that were in the shop.
Yeah.
And he was just a very entertaining YouTuber. And I started watching him having no idea that it was a shop. And then next thing I knew, I realized, oh my gosh, this is an online retail store. And like all the stuff this guy's doing, I can buy and I can do. So then it became like my main thing. Then I realized, oh my gosh, it's a 5-10 minute walk from our hotel to where this magic shop's headquarters is. And they have an in-person store. I was like, this is incredible. So we went and I walk in and that guy's working the shop. Lost my mind. And he did magic for me, and he sold me on a
So you can like make
quarter
money
bite
doing
trick.
magic. It's like kind of a niche thing.
What is
I'm just making.
what's
a
like
joke.
the best or coolest like magic trick like prop or thing like that you bought that you're like most excited about like all time, like that you were most pumped about getting?
Well, okay, so
Was it the bunny in the hat?
no, so there was this guy. His name was Mikami. I probably pronounced that wrong. Mikame. And he made prop magic, right? And so there's a few different tricks he did, but he handmade all of them.
That's cool.
Himself.
Cool.
And so I bought 2 or 3 from our like the local magic shop at Smith Mountain Lake. I bought 2 or 3 tricks from him because the dude was getting very old, and then shortly after that he died. So I used one of them a little bit, but the other ones I just put on my shelf as like collector items because you can't buy it anymore because anyone's
were they?
past that.
Like, what did they do?
So one was a butterfly that you took 2 scarves and you put it in to here, like you just ran it through the wing, and then the third one you put through the middle, I believe, and then they basically tied themselves without you touching it.
Wow.
I forget exactly what the trick was. A lot cooler than that, but that was
Sounds
more or
cool.
less the essence. And he was just like the way he handmade it all was very thoughtful. And the other one was it was a big tower that had a bunch of popsicle sticks that were numbered, and you could like shake it and one would come out. But basically, I forget again what the gimmick to it was, but there is some way that like I could have you shake it, but know what number you're gonna get before I handed it to you. So like I would shake it and show like random numbers were coming out, and then I could hand it to you, blindfold myself, however you wanted the trick to go, because like it was just a number, so you could factor that number into any kind of tricks.
You could have pick a card if you wanted.
Well, you could factor that, and that number into any kind of tricks, but it was a way to force you without you having any clue, because you're like, I'm literally holding this thing and shaking out a number.
Yeah.
And like you would shake out the number and be like, that first one's yours. You look at it and I'd be like, all right, now shake out a few more numbers to make sure you're getting different numbers. And as soon as you shook out the number I forced on you, the rest of them were random. So like you would get the number 13, and then the rest of them were completely random. So you'd be like, all right, well, there's no way he knows. But I knew.
He knew.
That one was cool. But the one that I was most excited and used the most was called an Omni Deck. And all it was a piece of plexiglass that was the size of a deck of cards. And the side of it was textured in a way that it looked like a card deck. And basically what you would do is, you know Ambitious Card Routine? You ever heard that? So basically an Ambitious Card Routine is you pick a card, and then I control that card to constantly be jumping to the top.
Okay.
So like most of the time it starts with like you put it in the middle of the deck, I cut the deck a few times, it's on top.
Right.
Yeah.
Then I put it back in the middle of the deck, I show you the top card, it's not it, I show you the bottom card, it's not it, I turn over the top card, snap my fingers, change it into your card. Something like that. So card's constantly jumping. Well, then what this would do is basically I would halfway into the Ambitious Card Routine hand you the card and say, look, a lot of times people think I'm using different cards, cheating, like multiples of the same card. I want you to sign it. And I'd reach for my Sharpie, and at this point, I would switch my deck to the Omni Deck. Hand you the Sharpie, you sign it. The Omni Deck was a clear plexiglass. The top had 1 card on it. So when I'm holding it in my hand, it looks like a full deck of cards because the side was a little textured. And then what you could do is shift the card forward so that the back pops up a little bit. And then when you hand me the card back, I slide it in. It looks like it's in the middle of the deck.
Yeah.
Right? Then what I would do is I'd be like, all right, so that's in the middle of the deck. Everyone agrees, yeah, it's in the middle of the deck. You'd hold out your hand, put the Omni Deck in your hand with your card and 1 card on top. Right? And then I would, I think actually, I'm trying to think exactly how you'd do it. Because when it was in your hand, I wanted only one card in your hand. So I think what I would do is once your card went in the middle, I think I would show you the top card and be like, no, that's not your card, right? And you're like, no. Like, so you tell I didn't shift it to the top. And I'd throw that card out because like no one ever thinks anything of that. I'm like, all right, hold out your hand. Put it in there, and I put your hand on top. I'm like, don't let me in there, whatever you do. Don't let me touch that deck. I'm like, all right. And I'd walk you through what all we just did. So you forget the whole Sharpie thing. Mm-hmm. Like, your card's signed. So if I'm able to get your card from the middle of your deck, you'll know it's yours, right? I'm like, yeah. And you're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, don't move your hands. I'm just going to reach in, and I'm going to pull out a card, and it's going to be your card. Reach in, pull out just the top card, because that's the only card left. At this point, I switch the deck. Pull it out, flip it around, it's your card. Everyone at that point is like, what the heck? Like, that was crazy. I'm like, not only that, but that was very easy for me because the rest of the deck's gone. Like, the rest of the deck's not gone. It's in my hands. Then you open your hands and it's a piece of plexiglass. Then people, like, lose their mind. Because basically in their mind, what it looks like was a card just bouncing around this deck. He's handling the deck the whole time. Put the deck in my hand, and now the whole deck's gone.
I think I speak for us all when I say you need to bring in the Omni Deck.
I couldn't do it again.
I agree.
Do you have the Omni Deck?
I definitely still have the Omni Deck.
I just want to see it.
I can bring it in. I'll look up a picture now.
Okay.
But I can definitely
visualize.
I can definitely find it. I don't think I'd be able to do it again because that trick was very sleight of hand heavy.
Yeah.
And took a lot of.
I'm sure.
Like, that was a trick I practiced the most.
I mean, deck swapping is already, like, that's going to be tough. I used to do a bit of card magic, but most of the tricks that I did were very beginner, and a lot of them just relied on math, not sleight of hand.
Math is fun. That's the Omni Deck there.
Because you couldn't mess up the math tricks. And
that's the Omni Deck.
That's cool.
Well, just to let you know, Hunter, if you want a head start to go ahead and start running, you've got about 5 minutes before the feds show up because I reported you for sharing a magic trick.
Oh, I used to teach magic on YouTube.
Wow.
My favorite trick that I would do the most was my sponge ball routine.
SpongeBob routine?
Sponge ball. Yeah, you just had little balls. They were just sponge balls. And they were very easy to do sleight of hand with because they were squishy. So you could make them into very tiny parts. And also people couldn't tell how many were in their hand because you squished down a sponge ball.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It was super fun. So, like, you put one in my hand, I put one in your hand. Both are in your hand.
Got them.
Boom. My hand's empty. You open up. Both are in your hand. Mind blown.
There's one trick that I saw that was very funny.
I want you to do that to me.
That one, I think I could still do that. Because I practiced that so much.
There's a Penn and Teller routine that was really funny that they did, I think, on SNL, where they're doing this routine and they're doing a lot of things where the card is jumping out of the deck.
Yeah.
And I've seen, like, there are ways to actually do that with, like, rubber bands that you hook in there and have it jump out. But the way they were doing it, I'd never seen before. And they're doing all kinds of things where they're getting things to jump. Just jump. And you're like, what is going on? And then the trick ends and the camera zooms out and you realize they've been hanging by their ankles the entire time.
Oh, yeah. I love that one. That one's so funny.
Everything, they're just using gravity. They're just letting the cards just fall from where they were hanging.
That one is very funny.
I love stuff like that.
One time,
you can't guess.
One time at a school event, there was this magician who went around, and this was the second most mind blown I've ever been by a magician.
That would be a whole different genre.
By a magician in person. But at some point during this, I don't know the whole trick, but at some point during this, I held my hand out and there was an X on my hand, a Sharpie X on my hand. And I swear it blew my mind because I swear this guy never touched me. And that's where I was like, what the crap?
You can buy that trick.
How did this happen?
I've never done it, but you can buy it.
My thing is with magic shows is I don't think I've ever been more compelled to buy anything in my life more than a magic set when I had just watched a magic show and there's magic sets being sold by that magician outside the show.
They're all the same exact set.
The tricks that he just did on stage a few times as well. Like, I don't think I'd ever beg my parents as much as I need
a genius thing.
You
like
need
he does
to have it.
The cup
because then you can know how they're done. So it's like a double whammy.
Exactly.
Like,
the best one is like cups and balls. That's like the oldest trick in the books, literally. But so all the sets they sell have like really cheap cups and balls. But the techniques, it's similar to what we were talking about, like with English earlier in this episode, where like once you know the rules, you know how to break the rules.
Yeah.
Same thing with cups and balls. Cups and balls has these like set rules of how you make things work. But then once you know it and you know a bunch of other sleight of hand, you can then apply that sleight of hand to cups and balls, and then you look like a freaking wizard. Because then it's like, oh, ball through cup. Nope, that's a lemon. How?
That's a lemon.
Have y'all ever said? I'm gonna have to show y'all. I'll have to find his name. But there's this one guy who has like one of the most famous cups and balls routine, and it's just pure sleight of hand, and he's so good at it that it just blows your mind.
I always like, what's it called? 3-card Monty.
That's a good one.
I love watching that. That's very fun to watch. Sleight of hand is incredible.
Yeah.
It really is. Magic's fun.
Magic's a good
I think a lot of us all had like a magic phase, even if it was a magic phase that lasted a day or a magic phase that lasted a few years. Like we all kind of had a phase where we were like,
Yeah, everybody kind of had a magic phase.
you know, like I remember I went to a birthday party once for my friend that was magic themed, and he had a magician come, and then everybody got little magic sets as like a
That's
handout.
pretty cool.
That's cool.
There's a friend that had some money, so like he could afford to give everybody their little magic set.
That's pretty
I
cool.
went through, like, I would all the time in high school, I would die hard watch a ton of magicians on YouTube, but I only tried to do magic a little bit, and I just, like, once I figured out how hard sleight of hand was, I was like,
It takes
not really
a
my
lot of
thing.
practice. My
My dad was a magician, actually. He had a local TV show.
No freaking
Whenever
way.
he was in high school, he actually had a local TV show where he was a clown magician.
That's
so I don't
amazing.
know how much credit you use.
I
you
get
lose with
magician's
that,
a
but-
magician. You know, it's like frisbee.
Yeah, that's why I also know how to juggle is because my dad was very good at juggling.
Yeah.
So
I was basically a clown that never had makeup
gotcha.
because I juggled and did magic for birthday parties. Clown. I was a clown. Yeah, that's it, man. I don't know how long we've been going, but that's all I got. Magic,
all right.
coffee, and juggling. That's me.
Magic coffee. That's what we call him in the office.
I used to have a YouTube friend, and I haven't. Let's see if he still does anything. It was JtMagic. I'm about to hit this dude up. See if he still's around. He was a little older than me,
part of my magic obsession
and he
was
like helped me with YouTube back.
I
in the
really
day.
liked collecting card decks for a little
Oh, you should see my card deck collection.
bit. I had probably 20 or 30.
You know White
I like
Monarchs?
shuffling cards.
White Monarchs,
Yeah,
Red LTD.
I never heard of that. I wasn't
White Monarchs, they sold out before I could get them.
A lot of the decks I had, Hunter, were just a lot of different bicycle.
I got a
decks.
lot of Theory 11, a lot of is it Evolution decks?
I don't know.
Has the E
a
with the
lot of the
circle.
ones I had were just different bicycle decks.
I have a lot of bicycle decks.
I just had I try to get as many different colors and styles of bicycle decks. as
Theory
possible.
11 came out with White Monarchs. And there was
heard
like
of those.
true White Monarchs, and then there was White Monarchs that were like stock run. And the true White Monarchs sold out really fast. And then I purchased from their site like 3 decks of Black Monarchs and 1 Blue Monarch like 2 weeks after. And they just threw in the true White Monarch into that package.
Dang. So
And I like emailed them.
That's crazy.
I emailed them and they're like, yeah, we had a few laying around the warehouse, just threw them in random orders. Like, congrats.
oh,
That is
heck.
sick.
I checked the price of it like 2 years ago. It was worth like $90.
Oh my gosh.
For that deck. I never
Wow.
touched it. I didn't open it.
That's
Because I got
awesome.
the like stock White Monarch that I could like mess with and look cool, but the true White Monarch I never touched. And the red
to this day.
to this day. Yeah, it's still in the cellophane.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't mess
show
around.
and tell.
I don't mess around. I could bring in my card collection.
Yeah.
Let me see what they're going for.
I want to see.
I
like,
haven't
the
checked
most
eBay in a
prized
while.
cards.
I feel like Magic's really fallen off, so I feel like I'm about to be very disappointed.
Yeah, it has.
I feel like I'm gonna search White Monarchs and be like, I should have sold
You
them
also
so long
did you see
ago.
they had Chris Angel at the NFL draft?
I did not. That's
He was
cool
hanging from a chain in a straitjacket and he twisted himself out of it. And
Sick.
everybody kind of made fun of him on Twitter. So
Yeah.
that's where Magic's at right now.
though. Well, Chris Angel was kind of always a meme.
There
was a time when he was cool, but,
Yeah,
like-
when he first rose to fame, like people were pretty sure that he was a god. So like the man was running
Okay.
himself over with a steamroller.
This one, brand new, sold for $89.90 a few weeks ago. This one sold for $75. See, these are like
That's
the stock
That's
Monarch.
a sick looking deck.
76, 89.
That's
So they're
cool.
still going for a decent bit.
Not as cool as a Rip Revenge deck, but
This
What's
one
up?
sold for this one. Oh, because this one's still sealed. So this is what I have. 150.
imagine if you took your Rip Revenge deck.
275. Why did that go for
Wow.
275?
Hunter, imagine if you rigged your Ripped Revenge deck and then like you were jumping the cards you wanted at the top of your deck. You were just forcing
That'd be funny.
cards.
I was counting cards.
Do you guys
I
know how to
feel
count
like-
I told
cards?
you about the time I got kicked out of poker. I kept dealing myself really good hands, right?
That's hysterical.
No,
No,
but that's so
my
funny.
dad would have like a weekly
Or
poker
you just
with all.
bottom dealing or something.
He had like a weekly poker. We played Texas Hold'em. and
That's
weekly
hysterical.
he would play with had some of his friends over. They all brought their kids. I was like 12 or 13 at the time. It was when I was really into Magic, but I loved poker, and so my dad would just let me play with them because I would just sit at the deck of card at the table. I wouldn't say anything, and we would just play poker. Well, around that time is when I was really learning a lot of card manipulation.
Yeah, so you could get what you wanted.
I realized that whenever it was my turn to deal, no one cared what I did.
Were you just giving yourself aces?
No, I would deal myself straights.
Straights?
I would.
What are you talking about?
I would
Straights?
deal myself we'll go.
How many cards were you playing?
Yeah,
Texas Hold'em, 2 cards. So I would deal I'd deal myself
were you
10 king, and then I would.
Oh, you were setting up the flop and everything.
Yeah, so I was like, what are you doing? And I'd be talking to you like this, and the whole time I'm just.
So you were setting
and then
up the
I would
flop, the
shuffle
turn, the river,
and do
everything.
my fake cuts and stuff, all just making eye contact with
That's
everyone talking.
hysterical.
And then I deal
and
it
the
out.
flop comes out and it's 9
and
jack
we go.
queen. You're like, oh no.
We go and we're
flush.
betting, and first time people were like, okay, he got a straight. The fourth time that game that I got a straight when I dealt, people were like,
you should have threw in a flush.
I was
every once in a
13.
while.
I was 13. I was just
the
stoked I
flush
was
would've been
doing
even
this. I was just so stoked I was doing this. About
It
the
must have
fourth
been
time,
easier.
about the fourth time, my dad goes, Hunter. I said, yeah. He goes, what are you doing? I said, what do you mean? He goes, every time you've dealt, you've got a straight. I was like, I don't know. It's the luck of the draw. He goes, Hunter. And I said, I don't know. And he goes, Hunter. I
You
was
playing for real money?
I don't know if they were or not. I wasn't.
Yeah.
I was just playing for chips. He's like, Hunter. I was like, yeah. He goes, what did you learn? I was like, I rigged the deck. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, I'm just holding, I'm dealing from beneath for y'all and dealing from the top for me. He's like, what? Because if you deal fast, you can just pull from the bottom and you push the top card off. So I was bottom dealing all of them, and then top dealing myself. Really easy.
Yeah, very easy.
And I practiced it a ton to I was good at it. And he's like, you're not playing poker anymore. I was like, yes, sir. So I didn't get to play poker anymore with them. So every week I was just.
And I'm never playing with poker with you.
I could not do it. I could not do it right
you
now.
gotta be
That
very
took
practiced.
me I was sitting in front of a mirror fake dealing.
Yeah, you
for
gotta-
hours
That
every
is
day.
so
You
funny.
gotta be very practiced at. I miss playing poker because I used to play with my roommates.
I love poker.
The problem that I had with poker is when we started getting into it, my roommates and I dove in head first. I was watching it. I enjoyed watching poker, which I never thought I would. I loved it. I was getting into theory. I was really getting in deep. And then I would play my roommates who maybe only one of them actually really knew how to play
it's
poker.
so frustrating.
So what would happen is I would lose a hand because I played it exactly how everybody else was playing the hand. And then the person would beat me because they didn't know the hand.
They didn't know what they had.
yeah.
So they'd be like, oh, I had a straight the whole time. Somebody else would even point it out for them. And, that led to some of our biggest fights ever.
Yeah.
When somebody else would point out a hand that somebody had. I flipped the table once.
Heck yeah.
Actually, the very first night I ever met my wife, she came over to our apartment because she was a mutual friend. And I didn't know who she was or anything, and she was just kind of sitting there watching us play poker, and I freaked out on everybody and ran to and I walked out and went to my bedroom, freaked out on everybody, and that was the first time she ever saw me.
she married you.
And she married me.
The worst thing with poker is whenever you're playing, my mom does this, and it drives me crazy.
It's so hard. I've never even to this day played with a group of people who really know what they're doing.
Well, we should play because, I wouldn't say that we all really
I
know what we're
don't know
doing,
what line is really no, but
Hunter and I would kill each
you're not
other.
gonna have to tell me I have a straight.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that would be good enough.
Well, what
That would be
my
good
mom
enough.
does, she goes, "This is my last hand anyway, so I'm all in no matter what."
I
And
hate
that's
that.
not fair, Mom. And she's like, "Why?" Because
I got aces right now.
and I was like, because it just depends on who gets the luckier hand this round on who wins.
Yeah.
Because the whole game is a little bit of luck, but also how good you are at betting. But if you got the good hand this round, you win the whole entire game. Doesn't matter what you do the rest
The
of
thing
the time.
is too, we used to not play with blinds a lot of times.
You have to put blinds.
Well, you don't have to when you're playing with people who don't know what they're doing because they're going to bet. You don't need to incentivize them to bet.
When I play
Every
people that
single
don't
hand,
know,
they're
you
throwing
have
in
to.
chips. But when you know, obviously, when you know what you're doing, you got to But if you were playing that way and there was no blinds and people were just going to bet no matter what, they would get mad at me because I was playing poker. I wasn't gambling. So
Yeah.
guess what? If I draw 2-7 off suit, fold immediate, just instant fold.
Yeah.
And they would get so mad, why don't you play some poker? And I'm like, all right, fine. And I'll throw in my 8 jack or whatever and just get crushed. And be
Yeah.
this is why. I could
Yeah.
have played I could have played indefinitely and then you forced me in.
I'm not a gambler.
So I tried to introduce
comes to
blinds to them, and they acted like I was talking about hieroglyphics. It was it was.
No,
it was
if you don't play
toxic.
with blinds, you can play poker for 14 hours.
Well, yeah, if you know what you're
It
doing.
sucks.
That's what I'm saying. If you're playing with brand new people, they want to toss the chips in. You know, so that's how
I never
you got
played
them.
with those people.
That's how you got them. Me and Pete would just we would just wait and just let them do their thing and buy themselves all out of chips, and then we'd play some real poker.
I never played with
Heads
those
up
people.
style, baby. Heads
Everyone
up poker
I
is
played with, if we
electric.
didn't have blinds, we were going to be there all night.
Yeah. No, because I'm a pretty conservative player. I very much pick my moments to
I'll
decide
be
to bluff.
conservative until like hour 3 of poker, and then I'm like, take my chips, please get me off this table.
And even then, I usually would only bluff if I had like an awful hand. I'm not bluffing with something that's decent because I can try and get there off the flop or whatever. I'm bluffing with something real bad.
I'm not telling you any of my strategies, man.
Everything
All right,
I just
here we
told you
go.
was a
Here
lie.
we go. Let's close this puppy out and let's do another sound. Let's do another sound
One
effect.
hand of
You ready?
poker to close out.
You want to do sound effect? Ready?
Hey, we got Ripped Revenge.
That
next
would
right
be
here.
honestly a crazy way to end the banter as we play at one hand of
That's
poker.
pretty funny, actually.
Ripped Revenge. Do
can't
those have
play
numbers?
They have
Ripped
suits on them.
Oh, they do have
on them.
suits on
Really?
them.
Yeah.
We're gonna play one hand of poker.
All right, let's do it.
Let's assume that the
No, we're just playing for pride.
no, I'm saying let's assume the chip count is like 1, 5, 10, 25, 50.
Why don't we just play for pride?
I'm just trying to give us I'm trying to give a scale of like what you should be betting because somebody bets $1 million. How do you know what that is in the scale of the game?
I'm saying we're not betting. We're just seeing who wins, baby. Face up.
Okay, so you're saying you're just gonna throw
I'm
out
just gonna
5
throw out
cards?
the cards and then I'll
Okay,
flip them.
okay, that's electric.
Connor, do you want me
and
to
then
deal you here?
we'll
Just
reveal
deal me
one at
there,
a
yeah,
time.
yeah.
We'll reveal one at a time.
Yeah.
That's so fun.
Don't even look at your cards.
What are you talking about? I'm gonna look at my. I'm gonna
Well,
peek.
but it's not gonna matter. I mean,
No,
you
I'm
can.
gonna peek. I
I'm
wanna
not gonna
know.
look at mine. Do you want to look at yours?
Nah, just leave them.
All right.
I'm
Show
gonna
mine to the
know.
camera.
That's not a real card. That's not a real card. There we go.
Oh,
What do we got? I
We got
can't
three
see.
kings.
three kings off the flop. Has that ever happened?
Wow.
That was impressive. I shuffled. Y'all watch
Who's
me
got-
shuffle.
Well, I
Who's
bet-
got the king?
I bet
Who's got
nobody.
the other
I bet
king?
nobody has that.
Well, I
fourth king.
guarantee you this is like 3 rip decks combined. So we're probably dealing with 7. we're probably dealing with 7
Oh,
kings right now.
So maybe there is a fourth king.
Oh, there it is.
Well, this is
Magic.
fun.
I freaking
We
told
gotta
you.
redo
Did you
that.
do it? Did you stack the deck?
We got to redo that because
Final card.
Okay, I mean, do you guys want to reveal?
Double foundation, baby. Insta win.
What do I got? What do I got?
Does he have a king?
He has a jack.
I also have
Ooh.
a jack. Oh, his second card doesn't count. I'll say I.
No,
jack
his second
nine.
card's the infinite.
Oh, so
I
does
should
he-
probably deal
does he
myself a
win?
new hand.
Does he-
I have
Does he win with the infinite kicker?
I have an ace 10. And he has a jack 10.
No, he wins with the 10 kicker.
He wins with the 10 kicker. There you have it.
And I'm the best at gambling.
Congratulations.
Spoiler alert, never. Spoiler alert. Spoiler nerd. Never play poker with
Ever.
evolution
Expansion.
because
Really?
the foundation cards will get you.
They get you every time.
We'll talk to you next week.